Russia's president has met with China's top diplomat, the two countries vowing to strengthen ties. Joining us live on this, the senior analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, Malcolm Davis. Malcolm, good to see you. So a little bit of a bro down in Moscow there. How do we read into that?
Look, I think it's a really worrying move because essentially what it looks like is that Russia and China are drawing closer. And the key context here is, will China supply military hardware, ammunition, artillery pieces, missiles, weapons and so forth to Russia? That would potentially change the course of the war in Ukraine and alter the balance in Russia's favour quite decisively. So the consequences of a Russian victory would be horrendous for European security and for the United States.
Is there any evidence of that at this stage, though, Malcolm?
Look, they're talking about it, and there's certainly intelligence suggesting that the Chinese are moving in that direction. And I think it's concerning enough for Secretary of State Antony Blinken to make a clear challenge to the Chinese not to do this. So clearly, all the intelligence is suggesting the Chinese are strongly considering it. If
they do, though, there would obviously be huge ramifications for China. Would that form part of their thinking?
They'd have to be aware of it. But from China's perspective, it's in their interest to see a Russian victory and to see America essentially focused on Europe and distracted from the Indo-Pacific. So that would be, I think, the reason why the Chinese would assist the Russians in this way, to ensure that America cannot focus on the Indo-Pacific alone.
I mean, what happens if they don't? I mean, we know China doesn't like to be on a losing team. Would he be seeking assurances? And I know we'd only be speculating here, assurances that Russia can in fact win this war.
I think with Chinese military assistance, depending on the nature of the assistance, it would dramatically increase Russia's chances of turning the tide. And then we would face a situation where Putin is emboldened. He has time to reconstitute his military. He can launch further aggression against Ukraine, or he can launch aggression elsewhere in Europe. And that would tie down the Americans and so allow the Chinese greater freedom of opportunity to move in places such as Taiwan.
We are now 1 year on since the invasion, Malcolm. Who is winning this war?
Well, certainly the Ukrainians are holding their own. They conducted some very effective counteroffensives last year. It's stalemated down a bit in eastern areas such as the Donbass, and the Ukrainians are basically holding territory in Kherson and Zaporizhia. But it's this big Russian offensive that's underway now that potentially could gather pace in coming weeks that will be the key issue. And whether Ukraine can get sufficient weapons from the West to stave that off is the key question.